morning, American government. Thursday, April 30th. Got some great news for you today. Opened up the paper. The beaches are open. Surf's up. So, I don't know where you are going to be this weekend, but I can tell you where I'm going to be. At the beach. Yes, I will have my 6-foot barrier, but I'm going to be there. I have cabin fever so bad. So anyway, it looks like the curve is flattening, and some things are starting to open up, and that's a great thing for all of us. So let's hope we just continue that way with this crazy virus. Got some other great news for you. You only have 2 assignments for this class, and then it's all over. Our official date, end date, is May 6th. So what I need you to do is I need you to go to FACS, check out your assignments. If you're missing anything, now's the time to submit them. Yes, I'll give you credit for late assignments, but now is the time for you to go into FACS/RenWeb, see if you have any missing assignments, get them sent to me, and then we can get your grades updated and we're ready to go. Just for your information, I have to submit your grades, your final grade, Thursday, May the 7th at 8 a.m. As you know, our class officially ends May 6th, that Wednesday. So, don't wait till the last second. Don't start sending some missing work on the afternoon of the 7th or 8th because it's too late. So, enough about that. Just go into RenWeb, make sure you're up to date with your assignments and get them to me. So we have 2 more assignments, and here's going to be the first one we're going to do today, and then we will have one more on Friday that will be due Monday or Tuesday. We'll take a look at it, see how long it'll take you. I don't think it's going to take long at all. Some of you are real go-getters, and so I'm assuming by the time I give it to you Friday, some of you will be done, certainly by Monday. So that's where we are. We're down just to 2 assignments. And so we're going to continue the dialogue, and we've continued about this freedom of the press and how our government regulates the print and the broadcast media. If you've watched the news at all, you've heard the term fake news. And whether we want to believe it or we don't want to believe it, fake news does exist. Now, the question is, when we say fake news, what does that mean? And I've sort of looked at it from this standpoint. Is it factional fiction, or is it fictional facts? Rarely do, when we watch the news, broadcasting, we're talking about specifically right now, the 24/7 news cycle, rarely do we watch it and we go, we have all the facts, they presented the story, it's not biased, I totally understand it. No, the truth of the matter is these broadcast companies, they have an agenda. And as a result, they're going to spin this news, take things out of context. They're going to spin it their way, so it's going to confirm, amplify their position. And ultimately what happens is the responsibility of discerning all this information is for you and me. And so we have to be diligent enough to go, wait a minute, and investigate. But my fear is that most Americans don't do that. They turn on the news channel, whatever channel they like, or whatever one they happen just to click, and they hear it, and that's got to be the gospel truth, and that's what they go with. When in fact, that isn't the truth. It certainly isn't the whole truth. And that information was spun a certain way to amplify and confirm some company's position. And so, if you want to get to the truth, you're going to have to unpack a lot of things, and you're going to have to do a lot of work when you hear this news and go, is that true? And do some investigating on your own. So that's sort of laying the groundwork. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look at the media world as it exists right here in April, May 2020. So a couple things we're going to do. I will attach these pages, page 536 to 541. I want you to read those 4 or 5 pages. And then there's 3 questions, except I only want you to answer number 2 and number 3. Just 2 and 3, get them to me. It'll just take you a few minutes. I need you to submit those answers to me. Send them to me via email by Monday, May 4th. Again, some of you are real go-getters, and I'm sure I'm going to have it by Thursday afternoon sometime. But that's what we're going to do. And then I want you to watch there's a video that we're talking right now, because we're going to go through a couple PowerPoints, and that will lay the groundwork of the media, the broadcast media, fake news, fictional facts, factional fiction in our politics, in our government, as we sit here today. And that will lead us into our last assignment, and then we will be done for the year. All right, so that's where we're going to be. I'm just going to pause for a minute, and then we are going to pull up some PowerPoints. We'll talk about those for a few moments, and then that'll wrap it up. Okay, we are back. Earlier this week, we looked at a couple terms. One was prior restraint, and this is where government censorship of information before it is published or broadcast. So we looked at that concept. We've also looked at libel and slander. Libel is false written or published statements intended to damage a person's reputation. Slander is verbally speaking it. The Shield Law is this law that protects reporters from being forced to disclose their confidential information. And we've talked about that. What happens is, right, if we talk about fake news, fictional facts, factional fiction, is, the question is, are these reporters, when you say, an undisclosed informant, the question is that true? Or did the reporter just make it up, right? If there's no obligation, right, to demonstrate who where this information came from, you start to wonder, is it skewed? Is it blurred? Is it made up? Things like that. And we have plenty of cases where, in fact, it has been made up. But on the other hand, we certainly understand this idea of the Shield Law, and because then people, right, citizens will be more apt to come forward to share information if they know their name's not going to be attached with it and all that kind of thing. So we've talked about Shield Law. And then we talked, maybe we didn't talk about this one, but the Fairness Doctrine is a ruling, and this goes back in time, and we're going to see what happened with Ronald Reagan, but it required broadcasters to provide an opportunity for expressing the other point of view, giving equal weight, giving equal time. And so what you couldn't do is you couldn't be a company and write a broadcasting company and just spin it one way, and you just want your position amplified. You'll take things out of context, you'll leave some facts in, you'll not put some facts in, right? You'll leave some things out, right, to make your point of view. And again, at one time we had this Fairness Doctrine. They said we couldn't do that. You were supposed to give the news. Yes, some people say yes, some people say no. But if you were going to broadcast that topic, that issue, you would have to put on both sides, the yes side and the no side. We don't have that anymore. That was eliminated. So that was the Fairness Doctrine. Okay? So that sort of lays the groundwork, and those are some of the things that we did earlier in the week that we talked about, some of those terms. Now, this is where we're going to just sort of land today. Again, now we're talking about the media, and we want to think of it in terms of the broadcast media. So we have this freedom of the press, right? That's what we've been talking about. And the press is free from prior restraint. Now, we're going to get into that, right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But we certainly don't want the government, right, in most cases coming in censoring what the news is. I mean, the public has a right to know. Now, the question is, are there cases, are there times when things shouldn't be published, right? And we've talked about that with juries, getting bad press before someone's trial, right? It gets out in the newspaper that someone's done something, or some horrific story is printed up, and then this person is, right, his individual rights are he's to a fair and unbiased trial. Well, it can't be fair and unbiased if all the jurors, right, prior to being selected have read about the story. Make sense? So there's cases, and we talked about those. And then, when we talk about the media, is the public officials are almost never, they're not going to win these libel suits. So basically what you're saying is the press can basically say anything they want to say, damage someone's reputation, and the chance of them getting caught in a lawsuit over it is slim to none. Does it happen? Yes. But the issue is on the press, because what happens with them in the court of law, it says, listen, even if they said it, they wrote something, they said something, and it was false, we're not going to hold them liable unless they knew it was false and they said it anyway. Or it was something that they should have known that's not true. Other than that, the press can make false statements, they can damage someone's character, all those type things, right? And the person who's been offended by this thing, in terms of going forward with some kind of civil lawsuit, chances of them winning are slim to none if you're a public official. All right, so then we talked about this as well, the shield laws, and that is this idea where avoid disclosing sources. So now we have the court system involved in this thing, right? So lower courts, they're going to try to support the local press, that kind of things. Things will get, someone's going to lose, in a court battle, and so what they're going to do is they're going to appeal it. So this thing goes up and up and up and up and up. And so it can't just be, the city of Fort Myers or the county of Lee County, city of Fort Myers, then it's going to get to the state, and then, depending on how this thing goes, it can go all the way up to the Supreme Court in terms of shield laws. Does the press have to reveal their sources? Where's the line where they don't, and where's the line where they do? So again, we're sort of laying all the groundwork. Then we have the federal government through the FCC. We talked about this briefly earlier. The Federal Communication Commission. That's a government agency, and their job is to regulate interstate and international communication by radio, television, telephone, telegraph, cable, satellite, all the things that you see today. Now, where the fine line is, can the FCC censor broadcasts? Right? And I don't know. We don't know, right? And yes and no. And the yes part is if some broadcasting company puts something out there that's really offensive, not true, detrimental to society, the FCC can fine them, and the fines can be substantial for violating some rules, right? And so in a way they are sort of hindering what the broadcast media can say. But the FCC is not proofreading all these broadcasts. It's just if something gets out there and then there's a kickback, then the FCC gets involved. Make sense? So the FCC and what they're going to do in terms of their regulation, it has changed over time, and it's going to respond over time differently based on there's changes in technology. I know it's very difficult for you to think of this, but we didn't used to have the internet and all the information that you have right now. And you know this. Some of the things on the internet are true, great information, and some of it is totally made up by someone sitting in their bedroom talking into a video and coming up with something. Not true, right? But again, where we have to discern what's true, what's not true, and we want the government somehow to try to monitor this, and that's what the FCC does. Then we had that controversial fairness doctrine we talked about, and at the time it required broadcasters to guarantee equal airtime to both sides of any kind of controversial issue. When Ronald Reagan was president, he goes, we're getting rid of that. And so as a result, what we have today is we have certain companies, broadcasting companies, spin it their way. This company spins it their way. And as a result, again, the responsibility falls back on the American people to discern what's true or not true. The other thing with the press, right, the last issue with the government and the press is what happens in terms of national security. Do the people of America, do they have a right to know anything and everything? Or is there something, some topic, some information that, you know what, would be better right now if the public didn't know about it till we get a better handle on it, things like that. So the government is always balancing that act as well. Make sense? Again, just take the coronavirus. Do people have the right to know everything, or should some of it be censored? That's another role of the government. So that's sort of where we are. That's where we're going to wrap it up. So what you need to do, the next step, the final step for you today is to read page 536, 541, answer those two questions, and then we will set the stage for our last assignment. If you need me, I'm here. Take care.